Hi, Melanie Muenchinger, illustrator for Gina K Designs. Today I'm sharing a project with you that I had on my blog just a couple days ago for our blog hop, and I got so much great feedback about this card. Even though I had a few step out photos and instructions, I really thought it was worth it to go ahead and shoot a video. So if you missed our blog hop, had any questions, or just want to see how quickly this card can be made, this is for you today. It uses my triple play frame, and I'm also using just a couple images from my Gifts from the Sea set, also from Gina K Designs. And this is just a small index sheet I have printed out, but it has lots of beach sentiments and images, and I'm using one of the sentiments today, the birds, which is always great for trying to create a scene when you're sponging, and then just a couple of the little seashell images, so you can choose your favorites. To do this project, you're going to need a couple ink pads. I'm using the Gina K Moonlit Fog for stamping the frame and the images, and then the Gina K Ocean Mist for doing the water and the sky. You'll also need the triple play frame stamp set, and you'll need a large block for that frame. And then I've got just some smaller blocks that I'm going to be using for the images. Also, I'm going to use just a couple markers here. These are the Spectrum Noir. I've got the EB6, the IG4, and the BG2. And then you're going to want some cardstock. Today I'm just going to make a single layer card, although I did this with the craft. So if you're interested in duplicating this card exactly, just look at my blog. But this is just the Gina K heavy base weight white cardstock. It's very thick, and your alcohol markers will not go through when you color on a single layer. You'll also need just some scratch paper for doing the masking, and a little sponge dauber for adding the ink, and I used a 1 1/4 inch hole punch for punching out the circles in my mask. The final thing you might want to use just some little adhesive pearls to embellish. Okay, so let's go ahead and begin by stamping our frame, and I'm going to use the Moonlit Fog ink. I'm going to go across the top section, making sure that I get all those lines in the corners. That's where I tend to skip over if I'm in a hurry. And then you'll do that bottom portion, and you see I'm not getting any ink inside. Okay. And I've got this 5.5 by 5.5 by 8.5 piece of cardstock, and it is scored at 4 1/4. Not going to fold it yet because I don't want it to pop up when I'm doing my stamping. I'm going to turn this over, find the middle, and I'm just looking at the borders around it. Line up those grid lines so they're running parallel to the bottom of that cardstock. Press all over and then lift. Okay? And I'm just going to also add this tiny little circle. It kind of looks like a target, but it's kind of nice, I think, for rivets or for masculine cards. And I'll go ahead and I will stamp those in between each of my portholes. Just as a little accent. And I really like this in just the gray. It gives it kind of a nautical look, and it makes you focus more on the scene rather than on the frame, rather than using a black. But you also might want to try it in navy just to change it up. Then I'm going to go ahead and add my sentiment. So just right there in that bottom section. And I'll put on some shells. Now for this one, I cut them out, but just to save time, I'm just going to stamp them directly on. And this little piece of coral in the corner. Kind of like a little photo corner there in its shape. And this is a die cut set now. This was actually produced before we started doing the die cutting. So if you purchase this now, it is still a rubber set, but it's die cut. Okay, now what we're going to do is we need to mask in this scene. So the first thing you want to do is just take a straight edge of cardstock, and we're going to be sponging in the water first. So we're going to cover the top portion of each of those circles, so you can see this is the exact same piece of paper that I used to mask it before. And you can choose if you want it to be halfway up or more than, I wouldn't want it up too heavy because, too high, because that's going to look more like a submarine. So I want it just down low in these sections. I'm not lining it up with anything though yet. It's just going to go across. You're just making sure that this is parallel to this and to this so that you don't have a wonky horizon. Then we're going to take the mask that I have already stamped of this frame and cut out, and then I used my hole punch just to go in and to cut out each of these circles. Okay, now you can also, if you have just dies and you don't have that hole punch, you could just simply do these one at a time by just placing any punched hole over them individually, but it's just really fast this way because they're already lined up being part of the frame. Okay, so we're going to just place that on right over it. So we've got 2 layers there now, and I'm just going to hold it, and I'm just going to sponge in that blue into each section. You be careful on the side if you've got it trimmed really closely to that edge of your mask. And you can make it as dark as you want it. You could also color this in with a marker, but sponging just always looks better when you're trying to create a sky or water. Okay, now we're just going to slide this out. So there's your water. And without re-inking, I'm just going to lightly, just very gently go in, and it's just going to add just some haze, and it's going to look like a cloudy sky. You can add a little bit more if you want, but just be careful that you don't go too heavy. Okay, and then I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to add the birds. You can draw these in if you want. You know, it's basically just little V's. So I'm just going to add these into that middle window and then pull it away. There we go. Very simple. Okay, now let's just add a little bit of color to these shells with my markers. So I'm going to use the IG4 just to draw a shadow underneath each one. So I'm just being consistent and having the light coming from this direction so that you're just doing the underside on the left of the shell and the starfish and this coral. Okay, and that really pops. And then I'm going to take this BG2 and I just want to do some stripes here just to add some color and dimension to the scallop shell. And then a little bit of this EB6 for my starfish. And now that you know this technique, you can experiment with different colors if you want to create a sunset by using oranges or pinks or violets, or maybe a darker blue for that sea. Just add just a little bit of this on the coral as well. And then we'll take those little pearls, and I always just like to add just a little bit of dimension to my cards, even my single layer cards. And just this little tiny detail really adds a lot. So just right over the center of that stamped thread. And fold it up, and you are done. And that's how you create an ocean view with the triple play frame stamp set. Thanks for watching this video today. I hope it gives you lots of ideas and inspiration. You'll go get stamping yourself. Please visit my blog, Hands, Head, and Heart, for more inspiration, and visit us on Stamp TV and Gina K Designs. Thank you for watching today.